Well, here's a new version of, and what I want to do is I've done cooking or slight touch on cooking, and I have also done a slight touch of which only one half of my political views were posted. What I want to do is I want to go into construction, of which I have, I don't know, 35, 37 years experience in. Everything from being a shovel hand. My dad said, do you want to learn how to be a backhoe operator? Well, then show up on the job on Monday. And when I showed up, there was only one backhoe there, and I knew he was going to run it. And he says, no, you're digging tools in the back of the pickup, which was a shovel. So anyhow, I have written this book, and it's called The Small Contractor's Guide to Construction Disputes and Claims. And the intro goes as this. This is just going to be an intro, and then what I figured is every Monday is going up. I started divvying up what I want to talk about based on what day of the week it is. Mondays are going to be Contractors Days. And I started out as a shovel hand, and I learned how to be a foreman by the time I was 23 or 24 years old. I was a contractor at 24, and I went all the way up through project management and construction management. But I watched so many small contractors that didn't, well, it's not that they didn't know what they were doing. They did know their trade. But as they progressed into larger projects, well, then they were getting out of their comfort range of dealing with contractors who treated them well and went to work on general bid. Mostly I did prisons, schools, that kind of thing. So here's the introduction to the book. It says, pardon me if I'm not looking, I'm looking at another screen. Upon the review of current resources for constructions, disputes, and claims, I have found significant gap between what a small contractor and a subcontractor needs to know versus what large contractors who are going after multi-million-dollar lawsuits need to know. This guide is geared for the small contractor on a small to medium-sized project that eliminates the did not need to know that information. Because there is a lot of information if you are prepping yourself on a multi-million-dollar suit as a large contractor versus being a subcontractor that just wants to get paid for the additional work he did, or they did, he or she. There's a lot of advice that can confuse rather than guide a small contractor through this process. The main lesson is not to be intimidated by the party you're dealing with. If anything, you have more rights than them when it comes to and you need to take the opportunity to establish a venue to voice your position. This guide is designed just for you, so that you may submit a viable proposal that has bargaining power without the additional hype involved with exorbitant consultant fees. namely me. Very first time that as a subcontractor we were filing suit, I think it was a $750,000 claim. And I truly, at the time, I had the ability, I just didn't have the assurity that what I was doing was right. And it was, I forget what his name was, but he was out of Los Angeles. I'm Bakersfield, California. So most of my knowledge is California contract law, which is probably the toughest in the nation. If could be wrong. Anyhow, I'm going to skip through the introduction, so now you got the synopsis on that. Now this is what I call a word from the author. Over 30 years of contracting experience and frustration have been adopted into this publication. The knowledge was acquired from every aspect of every rung of the contractual ladder. I began as a subcontractor and have personally witnessed each level of contractual dispute resolution, from being all the way up to being an owner's representative. Typically, the subcontractor tier gets the least representation at the final table, and more often than not has the most at stake. They have the most at risk because you are percentage-wise based on your contract versus what your change order is, or your COR or potential change order is. You have the most at stake. This guide will allow you, the subcontractor, to have a voice that will be heard. All too often, a subcontractor's extras get negotiated away by the general or the prime contractor in order to benefit their own change orders. I'm going to skip down a little bit. The days of the handshake deal are gone. They are. There's no more, hey, I'll do this for an extra 20,000 or 50,000 or 150,000. No, they're gone. You can't count on a handshake anymore. Because the construction managers nowadays were unlike me. I was a shovel hand that worked my way to be a project manager and a construction manager. And nowadays, hey, there's construction management degrees you can go get, and you get a master's as a construction manager, even though you haven't spent a single day in the field working with the trades and knowing what true work, bottom line, knowing what the work's about. You know how to schedule it, you know how to manage it, but you don't know the temperament of the individuals that are hands-on working for you. And there's been more than one opportunity, or incidents, I guess is what I would call it, when I was an owner's representative and sitting with a general contractor or a prime contractor, and then had them negotiate away subcontractors' change orders so that they could get their own through. And there was so many times I want to go up and knock those subcontractors in the head and say, hey, you're being sold out in these meetings. Couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because of conflict of interest. Which brings me to the last part of my author's notes. So I guess I'm writing this book out of self-redemption. Please heed the advice within what is to follow and use its insights to work to your advantage. You can find the confidence in whatever scrimmage prompted you to obtain this guide and the key insights for any future contractual disagreements that may arise. So, I no longer have to be politically correct. Well, I do in certain aspects. YouTube has informed me of that. But I think I'm good on this contractual thing. And I have like 2 minutes left to summarize this. But anyhow, every Monday I'm going to touch on one different basis of contractual disputes and give you the armament that you need to go up and stand up for yourself. Because if you stand up for 9 times out of 10, it's a test. It's just either the owner or owner's rep or a general contractor finding out how serious you are about this change. So, anyhow, I hope you tune in next week, and I will sign off. And hopefully here within a week or so, I'm going to have an engineer. I can even do it outside instead of doing it at my desk. So, anyhow, it was nice seeing y'all again. Have a great day. Happy beginning of the week.